Hey, if you don't happen to know who I am, my name is Reece and I'm the owner and founder of Define. Today, I'm going to be showing you a prom eyeshadow look because I know when I went to prom, I was like, I can do my own eyeshadow and I know it's going to look good because I had a lot of experience with makeup. But I know a lot of other girls who that was not the same case for. You know, they wanted to save money, did their own makeup, they looked back at the eyeshadow photos and they're like, oh my gosh, why did somebody not tell me that I shouldn't have worn blue eyeshadow with a blue dress? Like, that was a bad idea. I don't even want to post these photos to Instagram. So I'm going to save you from, you know, the embarrassment of eyeshadow. I'm going to help you come up with looks that are way more neutral, that are going to make you stand out in a good way. So here is what you're going to need to do first to start this eyeshadow look. And I already did this off camera. I don't know why I'm not like the best at it on camera. So this is where you are going to take an eyeshadow primer. So here at Define, we have our eyeshadow primer and your dual camouflage stamper brush. These are both, like I said, from Define. But essentially what this eyeshadow primer is going to do, and why this is so stinking key to have for prom, is it is going to set up a base for your eyeshadow so that the pigment lasts longer. Honestly, the pigment when I do my eyeshadow and use eyeshadow primer is the same when I put it on at 7 in the morning and the same when I take it off at 9 p.m. So that's amazing, being able to keep all that color. You're not going to experience creasing. Another thing that you don't want to see in photos, especially if you're looking down, you don't want to see all those creases, and you know, just helps your eyeshadow last longer throughout the day. So that's why eyeshadow primer is absolutely key for you to have during prom, and it is a creamy consistency. So you're going to need to use a brush with kind of a waxy feel to it. So that is our dual camouflage stamper brush. So first I'll just kind of like underline my eyebrow and then fill in the entire rest of my eyelid space. And now that you have that done, we are ready to roll with the rest of the tutorial. So the first palette I'm going to use is Define's Essentials palette. So this is a very basic palette. You probably have colors very similar to this on hand already in your makeup bag, and if not, hands down, this is a palette you will use for the rest of your life. I use it every day, all 6 colors. And then you're going to need the fluffy crease brush. So this one kind of V's out. It's fairly fluffy on the top, hence the name. And we're going to load up this white shade first. And it is matte, very important for where we're going to place it. So load up your fluffy crease brush with that matte white. And we are going to pack press this from the start of my brow up until I reach the arch. And again, this is a matte white we're using. Then I'm going to pat press until I get close to the inner corner of my eye, but not all the way down. So you're just kind of creating, I don't even know what that shape would be, so I'm not even going to try to name it, but pat pressing over here. Pat pressing your eyeshadow and really stamping it into the eyeshadow primer is going to make a huge difference, because if you're just sliding, you're not actually getting that eyeshadow to lock with the eyeshadow primer, and you're not getting a lot of potency in your color, because that pigment's going to look pretty muted. So now that we have that white base set up, we are going to switch palettes to Define's Tans palette. And now we're going in with a more shimmery white. So this one is not matte, with our fluffy crease brush, the same brush. Tap off any excess if you need to. And you're going to pat press this from the arch all the way down the tail of your brow. So that pat press motion is pretty key. You can see exactly where that kind of highlights the underside of my brow. And I'm going to pat press this in the inner corner of my eye, just in that same area that this brush actually fits. I'm not taking it higher and I'm not taking it over. Do note that, because that inner corner I have seen gone wrong on some eyeshadow looks too. So don't overdo it by any means, but make sure that there is enough powder there. So pat press on the underside of that brow, loading up a little bit more. Pat pressing that, just essentially I'm bouncing up and down with that brush. I'm not moving it side to side, and that's just keeping it in that specific area of the inner corner of my eye. I'm going to take my fluffy crease brush now and swipe it on a towel to get off any of that loose powder, because I don't want my white mixing with what I'm about to do next. So we're going to go back into the Tans palette, and we are going to grab this kind of tan color. I was like, tan, that's exactly how I would describe it. Load up your fluffy crease brush, tap off any excess, and what you're going to do is kind of feel for your brow bone. So mine sits about right here, and where we are going to place this is right on top of / slightly underneath our brow bone. So if my brow bone sits here, I'm going to go just a little bit lower / on top of it. Pat press, the first 50% of the way over, and then you are going to kind of slide the rest of the way. So I'm doing some gentle blending back and forth because you're gonna see a lot more power in that color over here, and it's gonna look more diffused down here, which is exactly what we want. Same thing on this side, pat, press. And then the rest of the 50% of the way, you are going to blend it down towards the inner corner of your eye, so you can see where this is sitting. Now, I'm going to take my fluffy crease, swipe it on that towel again, so that there's no powder, there's nothing on here. I'm going to very gently use super duper light pressure. I cannot explain or, describe it enough to you in a way that would make sense. I'm like, I know there's a word I was looking for, but my brain is not thinking of it right now. Stress it. There we go. I cannot stress it enough. Please use light pressure when you are blending. You should barely be able to feel the brush, but you're going to notice how that powder moves and becomes a little bit more soft and diffused versus stark like this side. So back and forth blending motion, just right on that color that we placed. So you can see the difference in my two eyes when I'm looking at you and when I'm looking down and how they're blended. So very light pressure, using back and forth motions to blend. Making sure we get all the areas covered. All right, and we are ready to move on to the next color. So since there's nothing on here, you might have a little bit from blending, so that's where you can just swipe it on a towel. But the lighter pressure you use, the more pigment you're going to have. The more pressure you use, the more pigment you'll lose. So that's why if you want a more pigmented eyeshadow look, you're going to need to use lighter pressure when blending. So fluffy crease brush, and now we're going to grab this dark matte brown, and we're going to place this on the outer corner of our eye. So actually, let me do this one first. Let's keep it in order. And then we can pat press, kind of going for that outer 40% of our eye, really making sure that is locking it in with the primer. And if you need to, you can invert your brush as well and make sure you're getting close to that lash line. So pat press, and that is just to place. Same thing on the other side over here. I am pat pressing, making sure that I'm just getting the eyelid. Notice I am not going up too far into my brow bone because when you blend, it's going to expand that color. So pat press, really making sure that's pigmented. Going down, getting close to my lash line so there are no gaps. And now we are ready to blend that color. So fluffy crease, swipe your brush, and we're going to blend the top where it's gonna meet that tan color. We're gonna blend the side where it meets the outside. And we're going to blend the middle where it is going to meet with another color. So notice I did not blend the actual core of the color because I need that to be more potent. I want that color to be more dark, have more depth essentially. Blend the top again, blend the side, and you're going to want to blend the middle. Now, if when you were blending, you're like, oh shoot, I feel like I lost a little bit of pigment, you can actually go back in with your fluffy crease brush, grab that dark brown again, and just reapply that to the core of the color. So pat press. If you need to add more pigment back into it. And then again, really light pressure when blending. We are not being very harsh at all when it comes to that. So blending the side, blending the middle, blending the top. The brush is barely touching my eyeshadow because it is moving. So there we go. Now we are ready for the next color, fluffy crease. Swipe it again, just, a practice. What is that called? Like something you do all the time, You're putting it into practice. I don't know the term for it. But anyways, now we're gonna take the fluffy crease brush. You are going to load up that gold shimmer, and then you are going to tap off any excess. And this is going to be applied to the remainder of our eyelid. So pat press is really key. And I'm just following the curvature of my eyelid down towards the inner corner of my eye. I'm not going any higher than that. Really loading that up so you can see that gold shimmer, nice and light. Pat press. Making sure, again, you're following that curvature down towards the inner corner of your eye. And then you'll want to make sure that your eyeshadow looks balanced. So On this side, I notice it blends pretty well with the brown. On this side, it looks a little too stark. So I'm going to swipe my brush and then I'm going to blend the middle where those two colors meet. Again, super light pressure to kind of diffuse that area and not make it look like a harsh line. Perfect. I'm just gonna do a little bit of blending here, blend where it meets that color, and then voila, you have that. So it's a little bit more dark, but nothing too dramatic. If you wanted to kick it up a notch, I'm gonna show you how to do that. So take your fluffy crease brush, you're gonna load up that dark brown again, tap off any excess, and we are going to kind of move it over. So I'm taking it, I'm gonna connect it from the top and kind of take it down a little bit towards the inner corner of my eye, using super light pressure to apply, because I just want to add some depth to that crease. And this one I am not pat pressing since there is eyeshadow existing there already. So I'm just blending back and forth, following the curvature of my eyelid and blending that in. So you can see the difference in my two eyes. This one has more depth to it. This one's a lighter look, but this is more common when you see prom looks. Especially when I was looking on Pinterest, I was like, yep, it definitely has more depth in the crease. And then I'm going to blend it right here where it meets that tan color, just to make sure that it's matching up. And because it is going to drive me crazy if I walk around with two different eyeshadow looks all day, I am going to do it to this side as well. So again, you're kind of sliding that down towards the inner corner, but you're connecting it from the top, going over. I didn't really put a lot of color on my brush because I just wanted to add a little bit of depth but not make it completely dark brown. So adding that depth in. Now I'm going to blend, so put the brush on the towel, swipe it, and blend that into the tan color. So now you have that depth in your crease. This sets up a really awesome base to where you can add a little bit of eyeliner if you are using false eyelashes. If you're like, actually my natural lashes are long enough, I don't need to add those, that's where you can kind of stop there and then just add mascara from here. Another thing you can do is add just a little bit of that dark brown in your under eye. So I'll kind of show you what that halo looks like. So I'm loading up my fluffy crease brush with a little bit of that matte brown, and I'm just going to kind of scribble it, is what I would call that, back and forth, and I'm gonna let it meet that outer corner. So you can see that just kind of made my eye a little bit wider and connected it a little better. So I'm just applying that to like the outer 25% of my eye, not going all the way in because then it's actually going to make your eye look smaller. So I have that placed. I just kind of used a sliding motion to have that. But from here, I'm going to apply mascara. I will show you guys the finished look with just my natural lashes and mascara, and I will be right back. All right, and here is the finished look with a mascara is the only addition I did after this. I'll look down so you guys can see that too. But this is a very neutral, light look that you can wear to prom and not regret all the photos that you have taken with it. But if you want to learn more about how to do your makeup, be sure to follow us. I will put a slide after this that has all of our socials so you know where to find us. And if you end up doing this for prom, whether you used our colors and our products or something that you did at home with what you had, please send me pictures. I would absolutely love to see who ends up following this tutorial. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.